Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Look at that concentration on my face as I'm mixing up my paints. So I am using reds, a silver, black, orange, and I'm going to do my puddle pour and my swipe, and I'm going to create such a different look. I've used this technique quite a few times already, and you've probably seen some of my pieces before, but somebody suggested that I do some red, some orange and some black, and that was such a great idea, so thank you so much. I'm also adding in some silver as well. So I'm going to puddle my paints as I normally would, just randomly across the canvas, and then I'm going to use white titanium mixed with Australian Floetrol to swipe through. And what I normally do is I try and get a balance of block colour and lacing, and that's exactly my intention today. That orange that you can see me layering now is an iridescent orange by Pebeo, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I will list all the colours in my description below, and I forgot to mention the canvas size. Today I'm working on a 40" by 12" deep edge canvas. As I'm puddling the paints on the canvas, you'll see that I'm sticking very much to the centre, and I'm not worrying too much about the edges. That's because when you go to tilt and get the composition of the creation that you're looking for, a lot of that paint will go over the edges. This colour palette is so different to what I normally work with, but I can't wait for you to see the creation. So please stick around to the end of the video and you'll also pick up some of my top tips. Okay, so the fun part can start. So that's my titanium white mixed with Australian Floetrol. 1 part paint to 3 parts Australian Floetrol. What I do is I pour the paint on my table, and then I use my palette knife to pick up the paint and swipe across. And when I swipe, I don't add too much pressure. I literally let it hover over the top of the paint and slide it smoothly across the base. So let the palette knife touch the paint and then gently just swipe across the paint, and you'll see all those gorgeous cells and lacing appear because of the Australian Floetrol that you're using. And never be in a rush to actually swipe. Take your time, go as slow as you like. Now I love some of that block colour, but I'm just going to use my palette knife just to gently mix it in. Just adding some swirls across those puddles, so when it stretches out, it will create a different pattern. Look at some of this gorgeous colour and lacing, and how some of those colours have made like a really nice purple colour as well. I just love this technique. I really love the blocks of colour balanced with the lacing, and that's something that I want to keep in mind when I'm stretching out. I don't want to all have lacing across the canvas, and then I don't just want all blocks of colour. I want to try and get that balance. So gloves are on and it's tilting time. What I do is I do try and get an idea of where the volume of paint is. So because you've seen me puddle the paints in the middle, that's where the heaviest part is going to be. And then it's just about tilting it to a design that you're happy with. There's no right or wrong way of doing this, but what I would say is maybe try one edge or one side at a time. Move the paint back into the middle of the canvas and then kind of step back, pause and have a look at the overall design before you carry on tilting. That's my approach anyway, and that's what I work well with. I tilt, I stop, I step back, I have a look at the design, I have a look at the areas that I really want to keep within the design, and then I can decide which areas I'm happy to push off the sides of the canvas. You can't see my face, but I promise you, I have such a look of determination when I'm doing my tilting. I'm really wanting to create a good pattern on top, and I almost forget that not all my flooring's covered. So the paint that ends up on the floor, well, let's just say that's another creation all in itself. And one thing that I would say is don't necessarily worry too much about your edges at this stage. As you tilt your paint over the edges, of course it's going to cover it, but there might be the odd gap, so don't worry about that because you can touch that up with some of the paint that's on your table. Okay, I'm really happy with the design on top. So I'm going to take you in for a closer look, and I can't wait for you to see some of that detail, some of that lacing balanced with the block of colour. Some areas have been really stretched out, so there's not much lacing, but that's really okay, and that's what I really love. I just love this top bit here. It really shines, and using the iridescent colours, I think it's going to help it shimmer when it's fully dry and then varnished. I just love this palette, and I'm really pleased actually that the black hasn't taken over. When I was puddling the paints, I did wonder whether I was using too much black, but I really think this is a good balance. I'd love to know what you think. Okay, so let's show you how it's dried. And what I've done is I've hung it on my wall just so you can see how big that canvas is and how all those colours really work well together in terms of the block and the lacing. I've stepped back just so I can get all of that design in, but I'm going to go in just for a close-up to show you some of that detail, some of that lacing against the block colour, how I've managed to create the composition of block versus lacing, and the colour palette overall, and some of the other colours, especially that deep purple that it's made. Really love this technique. This isn't going to be the last one that you've seen. I hope you're not bored yet. I really love doing these creations and showing you how different colour palettes can work. So if there's a colour palette you'd like me to experiment with using this technique and design, then let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Take care and have a great week ahead. See you soon. Bye.